Hey guys, welcome back to Strand Farm. It's Moose and I here, and we're sitting out in the car. We just wanted to give you a quick update before we get into the video. This past week, James and I had been sick, and now we're feeling so much better. And also, we've been hit with some inclement weather that's caused us to turn our attention to winterizing our trailer and getting everything ready for the cold. There's actually some more cold that's coming. And so that's why you haven't seen any videos of us working in the garden or with the chickens or the compost. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that as soon as all this cold weather comes through, we plan to get back out and get back to work now that we're feeling better. So I hope you guys are staying warm. Hang in there if this cold is coming to hit you too. We'll all get through it. And I hope you guys are having a great week. And let's jump into this video, which is Pantry Challenge Week 2. And I'll show you guys what we ate this past week. Happy Monday! Today's meal is kind of a late lunch, early dinner. And I'm having leftover baked potatoes that we had baked in the oven yesterday evening. And I've reheated those. And on top we've got salt, pepper, freeze-dried yard onions, butter, and sour cream. In here we've got a whole assortment of citrus that we've been working through. And so I'm going to grab a couple of these grapefruits out and make James and I some grapefruit juice. These grapefruits were given to us back during Christmas time, and I just want to say thank you so much to Crystal because she gave us this whole entire box of grapefruits. I don't have a citrus juicer or squeeze of any kind in our kitchen. I just don't have the space for it. So what I like to do is just take my cannon funnel and my strainer and a fork and just go through there with the fork and prick through to loosen up the juice. And then once I've gotten everything nice and loose, then I give the fruit a squeeze with the fork in it and kind of run it down through, and that really helps me to get all the juice out. Typically, I get about a cup's worth, sometimes a little bit less depending on the fruit, but I get about a cup's worth of juice from a grapefruit. So, fun fact, until we were gifted this box of grapefruit, neither James or I really cared for it. But since it was given to us, we were determined to find a way to use them. And, we tried cutting them in half and putting a little sugar on them and eating them out, with a spoon or a fork. And that was good, but we found that we really just like to drink it as a juice. Once I've got all the juice squeezed from my fruits, then I like to go back with my fork and just kind of run it around through my strainer and just make sure, because those little pulp pieces like to plug up and keep the juice from running through. Now I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup to this grapefruit juice just to sweeten it up just a little bit. And then we'll grab us a lid and put that on nice and tight and shake it up. For our Monday evening dinner, we're going to have pizza. So let me get my crust out of the oven. I left it in there a little too long, so it broke apart on me, but that's okay. I was given these pizza ingredients, the crust, the sauce, and the cheeses, the pepperonis. These were given to me for a Christmas gift. We've got a gluten-free pizza crust, and then on top of there I'm going to put my pizza sauce, And then we're going to layer that with some pepperonis next. This is just going to be a simple pepperoni and cheese pizza. Next, I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese, and I'm just kind of breaking that up a little bit and evenly placing that across the top of my tomato sauce and my pepperonis. And this tomato sauce was already seasoned, so I didn't really feel like it needed any extra oregano or any other herbs. After the mozzarella cheese, then I'm going to sprinkle it with some Parmesan cheese, and it's ready to go back into the oven. I didn't really time this pizza. I was just kind of keeping my eyes on it and just seeing when everything was ready. And that's just kind of how it goes with the wood oven sometimes. So now that my cheeses are getting all browned and bubbly, I think this pizza's done. We'll get it pulled out and put it on the counter to cool. The last step here is probably the most important. We're going to drizzle the top of this pizza with some hot pepper oil. Here's a little taste test for you.
How'd you know I wanted pizza? Mmm.
Cats like pizza? Next up, I'm going to make some pumpkin muffins. And this is a pumpkin that I had roasted a while back. It was a pumpkin that was given to me from a very generous neighbor. And I just had some of that puree sitting in the freezer until I was ready to use it. So I've got my thawed pumpkin in there. And we'll get all that mixed up. And we're going to make a nice batter here, make some pumpkin muffins. I don't have an actual pumpkin tray, so this is how I like to make my muffins. And I had a few chocolate chips left, so I thought I'd add what I had and put those into my muffins. And I ran out, so that one little muffin there on the lower left is just a plain old pumpkin muffin. And these are gluten-free muffins. I forgot to say that. So we got a pretty decently hot oven, and we're gonna go ahead and bake these kind of on the higher rack. And I think I ended up baking them for about 20 minutes. They probably could have gone just a couple minutes longer. The 4 center ones there were still just a little bit undone in the middle, but it was alright. We still ate most of them. They were really good. And of course, there's no waste around here. Whatever gets tossed to scraps goes to the chickens. But overall, these pumpkin muffins were very, very good. Happy Tuesday, January 9th. I'm going to make us some lunch. And it is pouring rain out. I'm sure you can hear that. Moose, is it raining? For lunch today, we're going to have breakfast. I'm going to fry up some leftover ham. And I'm going to make some buckwheat pancakes. While that ham's frying, I'm going to get my pancake mix going. So we're going to have buckwheat pancake mix. All I need to do is add water. And then I'm also going to add some of my homemade vanilla. And as you can see, this is a perpetual vanilla that's been going for several years now. I don't usually measure when I'm making my pancake mix. It's kind of just based on the consistency. So I'll just show you guys and kind of demonstrate what I do. I'll start with that much and see. That's probably at least a cup. And then I'm going to add some vanilla. and water. We'll start to stir that up and see how that consistency looks. We like a little bit of a thinner pancake, so I'm going to make my batter a bit on the runny side. I went ahead and flipped the ham, so that's looking like it's almost ready. We'll give it maybe just another minute or two. Let's pull the ham off, it's done. I'm going to put it down in the wood oven just to keep it warm. Since I didn't pre-stock up on anything prior to the pantry challenge, I'm almost out of butter. Normally I would fry my pancakes in butter. Today we're going to use bacon fat. I decided at the last second that I also want some scrambled eggs, so I'm going to crack some eggs really quick. I'm going to crack my eggs and put them in this bowl, and these shells are nice and firm. They're really tough. And then we don't waste our eggshells either. We put them in this little tray and we roast those in the wood oven too, and then crumble them up and give those back to the chicken as a supplement of calcium, and that helps to keep their eggshells nice and strong. I'm just gonna scramble these eggs really quick. Sometimes I scramble my eggs with a whisk, sometimes I scramble them with a fork, and sometimes I just scramble them with whatever I've already got on hand. So today we're scrambling them with a big old spoon. Skillet's nice and hot. I realized as I started flipping these pancakes that I totally forgot to add. I usually put in an egg and maybe like a tablespoon of some oil, and I totally forgot to do that this time. So when I went to try to flip all these pancakes, they were really brittle. It gave me a little bit of a hard time, but it still worked out. They were still really good. Pancakes are all done. Now let's get these eggs scrambled up. Are you a scrambled egg person? A fried egg person? You don't eat eggs at all? Let me know down in the comments below. When I'm scrambling eggs on the wood stove, I like to get them to where they're almost done and then pull them off, and they can finish cooking in the skillet somewhere on the counter, and that will help from overdoing the eggs. So these are ready to come off. I'm going to add some yard chives and a little bit of black pepper. And here's our beautiful food. For our Tuesday afternoon snack, we're having cream cheese with homemade hot pepper jelly and rice cracker cakes. For Tuesday night's dinner, I made some gluten-free spiral noodles that I drizzled with some olive oil and hot pepper oil, garlic powder, pepper, and yard onions. And we're having that with our leftover lentil and hamburger spaghetti sauce and some Parmesan cheese. For Wednesday's meal, we're having white chicken chili with homegrown garden peppers. For Thursday night's dinner, I just made a quick sardine pasta. So I've got some little twisty noodles there, a can of sardines. I added half of a can of canned peas and some cottage cheese. Happy Friday. We just finished a late breakfast of buckwheat pancakes. And since my skillet is still nice and hot, I decided I want to go ahead and make some corn tortillas. Here's our first tortilla.
Whoa.
James is going to flip it for us.
Aww.
Ooh, it's getting brown. Okay. I think I need to thin them out just a smidge more.
So as you're pouring it, I need to be moving it.
Yeah, that'd be good. We got this 5-pound block of raw mild cheddar. It looks like cheese.
Oh, that smells good.
Here's our final plate of corn tortillas. They're nice and thin, they're browned, and I'm going to put these in a bag and we'll use these later on tonight for dinner. James was calling them Mexican pancakes because he was just eating them plain. They are really good. And after I made all them tortillas, I got really hungry, so I scrambled me up a couple eggs and had a little bit of ham. This next dish that we had is something that I had never had before. Can you guess what it is? James didn't believe me when I told him that I was going to make beef heart, but sure enough. So here's the meat as it came from the bag, and I went ahead and just took my scissors and cut that up into little bite-sized pieces. We're going to add some black pepper, some salt, a little bit of hot pepper paste, or powder rather, a small can of green chilies, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, paprika, cumin, and just a little bit of cayenne pepper. I put all that in with the meat and got it stirred up really good. This is how it looks. And then just to make sure it has a little bit of liquid in there, I've got this veggie broth that's been simmering on the stove, and I'm going to strain out a little bit of that and add, I think I ended up adding maybe about half a cup of vegetable broth to my meat. I cover that little pan with some foil, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into the wood oven. I'm going to pretend this is my little crock pot, and I'm going to leave it in there as long as possible, but for at least 3 or 4 hours. It's a few hours later now, and I'm going to go ahead and start working on some of the other components of our meal. So I've got a can of home canned black beans, and I put about maybe a cup, so half of a pint, into this saucepan with some water, and I'm just going to get those heated up on the top of the stove here. Next, I've got this about 1/4 of a head of cabbage, and I'm going to use that since I don't have any lettuce. So I'm going to stir fry this cabbage. I just cut it up into like bite-sized pieces. A little bit of bacon fat going into my skillet. And we'll go ahead and saute this cabbage. When I decided I wanted to cook this heart, I didn't really know how it was all going to come together or what I was going to make with it at first. But after I made those corn tortillas, I thought, well, this might be a good way to make some kind of tacos. So, tacos is what we're going with. 4 hours later. I wish you guys could smell the smell. It smells so good. So yeah, it took about 4 hours for this meat to get fully cooked through and nice and tender. Here's our final spreads. We've got our sauteed cabbage, our beef heart meat with the peppers, our homemade corn tortillas, and then back up there we've got our black beans. So we'll get our plates assembled here. Here's James' plate. Alright, give it a try. Let's see what you think.
Okay. Oh, which ones, huh?
That's beef heart.
This reminds me of backyard taco in Arizona.
Oh, yum.
Mmm.
And welcome to Saturday. So again here, my lunch, I'm having a leftover baked potato, and I'm going to put some butter and sour cream on that. The reason I was inspired on this particular day to have a leftover baked potato is because I had come in from harvesting a whole bunch of wild onions, and here they are. Here's how they look. They are so fresh right now, you guys. So sweet, not so spicy. I feel like these are sweeter than the ones in the springtime. I'm just gonna put a little bit of butter on the pieces of the potato that I had cut up. Into the wood oven it goes, just to melt that butter a little bit and heat up that potato. While I'm waiting on my potato to heat up, I'm going to cut up some of these onions. We call these yard onions around here. Also, I'm going to have a little bit of some kimchi that my mom made for me. This is radish kimchi. I'm going to grab some chopsticks here and dish a little bit of this up into a bowl. You could call this an eclectic lunch, but it was very delicious. Alright, my tater's done, so I'm going to put those yard onions on there. I've got that melted butter, a little bit of sour cream, and that's the lunch that I had on Saturday. Now we're going to move on to our last dish of this video, and I want to show you guys how I'm going to make a yellow curry with rabbit meat. I'm starting with 1 cup of lentils, and I'm going to sort through that really quick. In this dish, I'm also going to use a pint of canned carrots, 1 pint of crushed tomatoes from the garden this year, or this past year rather, and 1 can of coconut cream. This here is pre-cooked meat, and I'm going to end up using probably about 1 cup of that. Here's that other half of canned peas from the meal that I made the other night. So up first, I'm going to open my coconut cream and put that into my hot Dutch oven, and we're going to let that simmer for at least about 5 minutes or so. Next, I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of freeze-dried onions. I'm going to add a little bit of these spicy freeze-dried peppers that I have. I'm trying to get these used up. I think I ended up putting about 1 tablespoon or so. And don't breathe in that dust at all, my gosh. I added a little bit of water to this coconut cream just to get all the last little bits out of the can. So we'll add that in. Then we're going to add in our canned carrots with the liquid and all. Our can of crushed tomatoes. And I like to swirl a little bit of water in there just to help get all of the tomatoes out. We try not to waste anything around here. We're going to add in our lentils, and there was just a few little freeze-dried onions in there with it. And then I pulled out about 1 cup or so of that meat that I have. We can add that in next. And then here I've got that vegetable broth that I showed y'all that I was making earlier in this video. I'm going to add about 1 quart of that, about 4 cups or so. Get everything stirred in nice and well. And then I'm going to add, I've got this curry powder here. And I'm going to add about, these are very heaping teaspoons, because this teaspoon is what I can fit down into that little jar. So it's probably really like 2 tablespoons worth of curry powder. So we'll stir that in as well and just get everything nice and mixed together. I don't want anything sticking to the bottom. Just stir it all around. I'm going to put the lid on, and we want this to simmer for at least 20 to 25 minutes. Really, everything's already cooked except for the lentils. To serve with our curry, I've got some jasmine rice going over in this little sauce pot here. This is 1 cup of jasmine rice with 2 cups of water, and I pre-rinsed that rice. So I'm just stirring that around and making sure that none of the rice is sticking to the bottom. I can see that there's still a little bit of liquid down in the bottom there, so I'm going to cover this rice and let it go for just a few more minutes. Now that the curry is getting close to done, I'm going to add those canned peas. And to thicken our curry, I'm going to add a little bit of this potato starch here. This might be, a couple tablespoons or so. And I'm just stirring that around with a little bit of cold water. We'll pour that in. We'll just let that go a few more minutes, but once those lentils are cooked, then this dish is ready to eat. Alright, we're going to serve up our plates here, so I'm going to scoop up some rice. I like to fluff it up with a fork. Got our rice and our curry on top with some of those yard onions. Okay, we made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go and get all my dishes cleaned up. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.